After spending time with dogs and bees, the third MPR workshop explored what happens to the idea of participation when trees become a research partner. Based in the Forest of Dean, this workshop moved away from set participatory research frameworks and instead used a more experiential approach to connect with the forest. Working with members of the team from the Wye Valley area of outstanding natural beauty, we explored a range of performative and arts-based methods for working with trees. Information Officer Nikki Moore first introduced us to the Inside Out project, which uses the arts to connect excluded groups with the landscape of the Wye Valley. We would be trying out similar techniques to those Nikki used in the project. We also met Sarah Sawyer, who works as a Community Links Officer and who guided our activities on day 2. After hearing from Nikki, we then set out to explore the forest. After a look around at some of the community art pieces that have already been installed, we settled down behind oak blocks to begin our main activity of the day, wood carving. We were joined by Dave Jackson from Wildwood Coppers Crafts, who taught us the basics of carving our own wooden spoons from green cherry tree wood. Our main aim was to learn more about the traditional crafts that bound people and trees together, and to explore the experience of working with wood ourselves. While our walks in the forest would connect us with trees as beings in a shared living landscape, our carving allowed a different exchange of information. We learnt about heartwood and sapwood, hardness, colour, grain. We also slowed down a bit and talked less, intent on our task. By the end of the day, we each had our own spoon, some more detailed than others, but all made with care and attention. The next day we went out into the forest again, this time to try out activities used in the Inside Out program. We explored why we were drawn to different tree species. We made biodiversity balls to tune into the variety of species in the forest. We built small homes in the forest. We played with the idea of talking trees to question the idea of conversation.
Some of you might decide you're going to be the eyes, some of you are going to be the mouth, whatever features that you feel are important for your tree character.
We also spent time just being quiet. 2 different activities involved dispersing out into the forest to try and soak in its smells, sounds and feel. One involved a narrated walk where we recorded thoughts about the way being in the forest affected us, drawing out different emotions, memories and rhythms.
It was a conversation, but it was a conversation with bits of me.
Outside of our usual university environments, we connected with the forest in embodied ways through touch, texture and sound. Back in the circle where we started the workshop, we reflected on what it might mean to have conversations with trees. We talked about affect, agency, participation and language games. We asked whether we were trying to compel things to talk to us rather than changing ourselves so that we could listen differently and more attentively. Sitting amongst the trees, it didn't really seem that they cared that much about what we were saying, but we did feel that research could look quite different if we spent more time listening.
We were actually more aware of what was happening in the tree.
Was it just a pure desire of getting to know the wood, or was it that we needed to understand the wood in order to make good spoons?
Because the tree time scale is slower, it can't respond in a very rapid fashion.
What we're really talking about is connections and what those connections are and do and feel.
Do we need something more to satisfy the human dimension?
Tree has its own language that it wants to speak in.
How do you ask a tree what it wants?
Are the trees telling us something in response in how we're actually influencing the environment, and if so, is it meaningful?
The trees are conversing with us in the sense that they're allowing us to access stuff within ourselves in a way that we maybe couldn't access it if we're sitting in the centre of Birmingham.
Are the trees changing slightly our perception of time or the time we spend? Are they slowing time down?
The trees are connecting with their things around them.
It's all about different senses of the self and the ecological self. What is a human? Not what is the tree, but what is a human?